All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, January 29th. We have a big NBA slate to dive into in today's video, like we always do. When I go through each and every one of these games, we'll talk about them. I'll give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the games. But as always, keep an eye on the pinned comment. That is where my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, those plays will live if you do want to fade those picks. Keep an eye on that pinned comment. Last night, I told you guys in the video we didn't like the slate, and we look at an 0-2 night. We had the Suns on the money line. They gave up in the fourth quarter. And then DeMar DeRozan does lead the Bulls in scoring, but it was just a super low-scoring game. He had 20 points. I believe he had 2 first-quarter points. So, yeah, 0-2 night. Sometimes you're the windshield. Sometimes you're the bug. We're the bug last night. 0-2, though. It's manageable. We didn't go deep into a slate that we didn't like. The fun, unfortunately, doesn't stop there, if you consider losing fun here. The ride of the day. Now, we're not going to drop the womp womp because we just dropped it on ourselves. But Edward, his streak comes to an end here. He had Vooch over 20 points and assists. He finished with 14 points and 3 assists, I believe. So just a few short there. If you guys want a chance to be the ride of the day, all you have to use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also shouting you out over on my Twitter/X at EvGuyBoston if you guys do want to follow me there. But yeah, drop those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. If you win, we continue to ride with you and you continue to get shout outs in the video. But a decent run for Edward there. But guys, let's go ahead and jump into today's slate. Like I said, it's a big one. Buckle up, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let's talk some Charlotte Hornets hosting the New York Knicks here. Now, Hornets getting 8 points. You might be saying, that's not that much. The Knicks are playing good basketball and the Hornets are not, right? Well, Julius Randle, was it a dislocated shoulder, I believe? He is out for, indefinitely. They're trying to figure it out, I guess, and give him a timetable for return. But last game, was when he injured it. So we don't necessarily know exactly when he comes back. So the Knicks are without arguably their best player. And I don't even know if it's arguable, Brunson or him. Like, it's probably him, obviously, right? So that is probably why this line is where it is. Because again, yes, 8 points is a lot, but this season, the Knicks, this season alone, have been 10.5 point favorites against Charlotte. They covered. 6.5 points favorites against Charlotte. They covered. 11.5 point favorites against Charlotte, they covered. So they've already beat them and covered in 3 straight games. I still like the Knicks in this spot, but because Randall's absence, I'm probably going to stick away from this in terms of final plays and leave it as a lean here. You can get it at 7.5 over on FanDuel as well. So it's kind of moving in the opposite, it's moving in a direction that's good if you like the Knicks, but the books don't like giving those Charlotte +8 tickets. So that tells you a little bit of something too. So we'll probably leave it as a lean. In terms of a total, I still don't mind the under. We've been cashing on these Knicks unders. Like, they've been absolutely, crazy towards unders as of late. And this Charlotte team really isn't a team that has been very consistent in terms of points scored. Now, points allowed, sure, but maybe, the Knicks are missing 20 points from Randall tonight, and that could be a little bit of an issue. So I'll take the under as well in this spot. Now, a spot that I really don't mind is going to be looking at OG Anunoby over 1.5 3-pointers made. Now, he's hit this in 2 straight games. Against Denver on the 25th, he had 3, and then against Miami last game, he had 2. He had 9 attempts and 5 attempts in those 2 games. I really do like this spot from him. He's also hit it in 6 of his last 10 games. On the season, he's hit it in 59%. Obviously, with the team change and everything like that, it can shake it up a little bit. But this is a Charlotte team that, I don't really mind them getting shot on here. They're really not covering their perimeter well, and the Knicks, really decent right corner 3 team, led by, in the last 10 games, OG Anunoby taking more right corner 3s than anyone. So maybe he pockets one of those, and then he can hit any from anywhere else, or maybe he makes 2 from there. Just give us 2, OG, all right? OG Anunoby over 1.5 3-pointers made is probably, it's kind of a weird one, but the player prop that I like the most in this spot. All right, next up, we have what should be a pretty good game. We have the Cleveland Cavs taking on the Clippers. Clippers traveling to town here. In terms of injuries, not much to note on LA side of things, but Cleveland, you are going to want to keep an eye on this injury report. Donovan Mitchell is listed as probable, so assuming he plays and he does have lines out, we actually like a player prop for him tonight as well, but that's obviously going to be something that you want to keep an eye on there. He played 36 minutes in the last game. I believe he aggravated it then too, but you know what, he's anticipating anticipated to play. So in a decently big game too, like this should be a good game. I expect him to kind of show up here. So we're going to be judging and kind of breaking this game down with him in mind. Not that it matters, because I think I like the Clippers ever so much in this spot, just because they are, in my opinion, I guess, playing... It's hard to say playing better basketball, because if you look at both of these teams, the Cavs have won 9 of their last 10 games. The only loss was against Milwaukee, and then they go and beat Milwaukee by double digits the next game. So it's like, yeah, they kind of made up for that. Clippers 8-2 in their last 10 games. But when you look at strength of schedule, I just think that the Clippers have had a little bit tougher of a schedule. Like Cleveland, in their last 10 games, played Washington twice, so that's 2. Played San Antonio, played Brooklyn, played Chicago, played Atlanta, and then Orlando. So it's like 7 of those games, and I guess you could fringe Orlando in terms of putting them in that category, but 60% of those games have been kind of cleanup games, whereas the Clippers have played Minnesota, OKC, the Lakers. You know, that was a good game, I guess. Don't want to give them too much credit for that. Phoenix, Boston, like, they just a tad bit more of a strength of schedule. So, yeah, if you're on the Cleveland side of this one, I don't really want to try and talk you off it, because, again, they're playing red-hot basketball too. They've made us money in the last 10 games, but so have the Clippers. So this should be a good basketball game, but give me the Clippers here minus the points. Total sitting at 225. I have a feeling that both these teams come into this with some serious defensive intensity. When you look at this from a last 5 perspective, Cleveland allowing nearly 13 points under the league average in terms of points allowed per game. You flip it over to the Clippers side of things. Wow, it looks pretty good too, allowing 6 points under the league average. So both these teams playing some good defense, but their offenses have been playing really well. So it's almost like, all right, that 225 is a low-ish number when you think about it, but I'm going to trust the defense in this spot and look toward the under. In terms of player props here, I don't mind Donovan Mitchell's threes. If there's any spot on the court that the Clippers may, and this is like a italicized may, like not necessarily the most struggle, right? But if there's any spot they struggle, it is on the above the break 3, so above the corner breaks, right? And Donovan Mitchell shoots more than anyone on the team when it comes to above the break 3s. He also shoots more mid-range than anyone on that team as well. Another soft spot for the Clippers, but I'd probably look at his threes just because his points line is at 29.5, and it's just such a high line, especially going up against a good team. So you can get him at over 2.5 threes right now for minus 119, and I don't really mind that spot. I don't mind his over 3.5 for plus money either, if I'm being completely honest. So yeah, just keep an eye on it. I think that line probably gets bumped. I've seen his over 2.5 in the recent games at like minus 180. So the fact that we can see it at minus 119, we haven't even gotten to plays it, so maybe it's even a bug, but I like him to make 3 or 4 threes in today's game. Last couple times that he played the Clippers, he had 8. That was last season. Then this year, which was, or actually it wasn't this year, it was last season, but he only played 20 minutes in it. He went 1 of 3 from 3, and then he only played 20 minutes. So, you know, I do still think if he plays a full allotment, we're looking at a decent amount of chance to hit there. So Donovan Mitchell, I like his matchup. I like his spot. The points are a little bit too high for me. We'll consider him on the 3. All right, guys, before we continue on with the slate, let me talk to you about Outlier. If I'm talking, you know, last 10, last 15, last 20 games, I'm pulling directly from Outlier. For example, that OG Anunoby, let's pull that one back up. I'm on their player prop screen right now. We can click into any one of his stats, find 3-point mades at the top, and boom. Like I said, he hit it in his last 2 games. 3 of his last, 3 and then 2. In terms of attempts, 9 and 5. Everything I just spouted off about OG Anunoby comes right here from Outlier. You can even filter the Charlotte defense against. So against small forwards, they are allowing they're allowing the second most, the 29th in terms of rank from 3-pointers made allowed. You can even go down here and look at it. Charlotte's defense, overall, the worst team in the league when it comes to 3-pointers made. There's so many cool stats to look at. And again, you can literally look at all of his numbers when it comes to rebounds, points. You can look at the odds that are listed and odds that are available. It is pretty damn cool, guys. You can get a free trial to Outlier by using the link in the pinned comment. Get 7 days free. Even after that, if you're worried about signing up for a free trial and then it's costing you hundreds, no, it's $19.99 per month for exactly what you just saw. And it's not just for player props. You can look into it for games and everything like that with trends and all that good stuff. So make sure to check it out, guys. Again, 7 days free in the pinned comment. The worst thing that happens is you think you're just going to sleazeball, get 7 days free, which I'd still recommend trying, and not pay for it afterwards. And you're going to realize how damn good this tool is. Then you're going to be like, fine. Take my $20, take my 2 Starbucks drinks per month because I got to sign up for this thing. But shout out to Outlier, guys. Go check it out. Link in the pinned comment. Now let's go ahead and get back to the slate. We got a good one here. And I'm a Celtics fan, and I think the Celtics team is damn good, obviously, right? But that's a Pelicans team that I think is playing some good basketball now. They have not looked the best in their last, 5 games, but they played Milwaukee, OKC. They beat Utah, which actually give them some credit. Utah is playing well. They lost to Phoenix, who that's right when Phoenix is playing well too. So they've kind of had a rough go of it. The issue is that they are here on the road in Boston. This is a Celtics team that is absolutely filthy at home. On the season, they're 20-2 straight up against the spread. It dips a little bit, but still a positive team against spread, 13-9. But this number is really what my play comes down to, right? It just seems a little bit too much of a number for my Boston Celtics to comfortably lay. So I'll lean towards the Pelicans. If you know anything about me, I'm not making that a final play because I'm biased towards the Celtics, but at least I tell you here, right? I'm still telling you the way that I would lean. In terms of the total, 233.5, it's up there. It's high. I think I lean towards the over, even though part of me wants to say if the Pelicans keep this game close, it's a low-scoring game. But Celtics at home, I just can't look the other way in terms of how many points that they could score at home, right? This is a team that can drop buckets. So they haven't been, I wouldn't say, playing crazy fast. They've actually hit more unders than overs recently. But if this is a close game, back and forth, I think that they kind of step up to the plate. Now, from an injury perspective, Kristaps Porzingis is questionable, as is Al Horford, and then Luke Cornett is doubtful, which I just rattled off the 3 centers that the Celtics pretty much even have on their roster. So another reason why, yes, any of those guys singly missing, I guess Kristaps obviously matters, but any of those guys, singularly missing, they'd be able to fill in for. But if all 3 of those guys sit, which I don't know if they will, that's a pretty big blow to the Celtics, and then they have to bring some bench players in to potentially get that start, right? So just keep an eye on that injury report if you're on the Celtics. If you're on the Pelicans, this probably is a spot in which you take it early, just because if Kristaps gets ruled in, you get a smaller line, or you might even get a bigger line. But if he gets ruled out, you definitely get a smaller line. So keep that in the front of your mind. At least keep an eye on that injury report here. Now, in terms of player props here, it's tough with those guys listed as on the injury report for the Celtics. So I don't really have anything for them. But with that in mind, I don't really mind looking at Jonas Valanciunas' over points, rebounds, and assists. We can flash back into Outlier here, guys. He's been crushing this line. Now, against the Celtics, he's struggled, but no games this season, right? If you actually look at what the Celtics have done against centers, middle of the pack for points, decent against assists. Rebounds, they're okay. But again, look at how he has done as of late. He's been crushing this line against teams that have some good interior presence, right? And it's kind of okay, well, 22.5. Ain't asking all that much. His assist line's 1.5. So if you wanted to kind of look at this and say, okay, maybe his points, rebounds is 20.5, that's more doable. But look at his assists lately. He'll have games where he has a decent amount of assists. He covered his assist line in both games against the Celtics last year. So that's why I like the points, rebounds, and assists, throwing it in there. So this could make its way into the final play. I definitely want to keep an eye on the injury report, because if they get ruled out, this line might jump. So if those centers get ruled out for the Celtics. But yeah, it's not that tough to give you my rationale. Banged up big men for the Celtics, looking at a bruiser of a big man on the Pelicans. Kind of simple as that in terms of player props. Next up, we have Brooklyn taking on Utah, and I'll get ahead of it. We'll sound the psycho alert alarm. I don't mind Brooklyn in this spot. Utah had been playing really good basketball. I do think that maybe they've kind of regressed back to something similar to what they were. Now they're healthy. They made the lineup change. I still think they're better than what they were, say, a month and a half ago, right? But beating Charlotte, beating Washington, I don't think I put that much weight into those wins. And as weird as it is, I think this Brooklyn team is way better than those teams, as bad as Brooklyn is too. So I do think that we have ourselves a match tonight, and the fact that this line is where it is, I'm going to lean Brooklyn. Now, do I have the cojones to pull the trigger on this? Probably not, because it seems like it's too easy to be Utah just wins this game, right? They're a better team. They're playing better. So I wouldn't talk you off of it if you are on Utah. In a sense, you could say that, wow, we're pretty lucky to pretty much have a pick 'em with Utah and Brooklyn, right? But it's not my favorite spot for Utah, I guess. Utah did whoop up on them in Utah, but that was back in, mid-December, which is, right when Utah was good at home, bad on the road. Then you have this Brooklyn team who it's okay, yeah, they've been bad, but I guess to some degree that was a decent win against Houston, right? They covered against Minnesota. Maybe there's a little something there. I don't know. Like I said, this probably stays as a lean, but I'd expect this line to be way larger, like Utah -5.5 or something. The fact that it's just Utah -1 makes me want to say, okay, the books know what they're doing. They don't throw idiotic lines out like this all the time. Let's go Brooklyn. And it also hasn't moved. This opened up Brooklyn +1, aka Utah -1. I'm sure tons of people jumped on that line, and now look where we're at. The same exact line. Yeah, 82% of the bets right now are on Utah. This is another thing that Outlier does a good job of being able to see this. 82% of the bets are on Outlier. And then how about this? The money line, right? So pretty much a pick 'em. 80% of the bets are on Utah, which is kind of what I just said too. Most of the money, the sharp money, is actually coming in on the net. So something to think about there. Don't necessarily, this doesn't necessarily mean that I want to play that, but it may be a good sign of like, hey, caution here, maybe stick away from this one, even though it seems super easy. In terms of a total here, 235. Give me the over in this one. I do think that Utah's going to run. Brooklyn, their offense has been super, super sluggish. But if Utah's going to run, and I think Brooklyn can stay in this game, like I don't think there's a way that Utah doesn't run, right? Their last 10 games here, 132, 124, 145, 132, 132, 129, 126, 124, 123, 134. Like there's no world in which they decide to go, okay, you know what, we'll slow this one down. So if I think Brooklyn at least makes a game of this or even wins this game outright, then I have to lean towards the over there. Just because of what we're seeing from Utah. Now, player props, Mikal Bridges over 2.5 3-pointers looks good to me, but am I now dipping my toe back into it, guys? If you remember 2 videos ago or 3 videos ago, where I just, for whatever reason, thought I saw the board super clearly when it came to 3-pointers made, and then those were the only losses we had that night. Would have been a sweep otherwise. So we do already have a couple 3-pointer made lines that we like today, but yeah, I do think that this is a good spot for Bridges. Last time he played them, he had 3 threes on 8 attempts. That was this year. Now, even last year, he had 8 attempts against them as well, so I think it could be a good spot for him to knock in a few threes. All right, we got Miami taking on Phoenix. Phoenix let us down last night. Now they come into Miami as 3.5-point dogs. Total sitting at 229.5. This is a weird one because the fact that kind of just like what we talked about with the books making a line, like I was kind of caught off guard by this. I know that Miami is a decently comprised team, but they're not playing good basketball at all. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games here. They've lost 6 straight. Like the fact that they're favorites over Phoenix, in which Phoenix on no rest situations this year, 5-2 straight up, like little weird to me. So I guess I'm gonna, talk out of both sides of my mouth here and disregard the line, even though that's kind of what we made our basis on for the Brooklyn and the Utah game. But give me Phoenix plus the points in this one. This may be one where we split a unit, plus the 3.5, and then also half a unit on the money line. Maybe there's guys that are going to sit out due to the fact that this is a back-to-back. But as of right now, Yusuf Nurkic, the only guy on the injury report for Phoenix. We're recording this early. Things can obviously change, but I'm not going to jump to places because I want to see if Beal, Booker, or Durant say, hey, you know what, back-to-back, I'm sitting out. But if they play, like, I like this spot. Now, I will admit, at some point, Miami has to win, right? Like they've lost to Boston, New York, but they've also lost to Memphis, Atlanta, Brooklyn. Actually, I think they beat Brooklyn, but nonetheless, they've had like this kind of bad and easy schedule at the same time, or bad and good, no matter how you want to look at it. But give me Phoenix plus the points, but that line's a little fishy to me. Smells like someone could be sitting out, so we'll keep an eye on that. Now, the total sitting at 229.5. I know this Miami team plays slow. They're playing with the second slowest pace in the last 10 games here. But Phoenix, top 10 team in terms of pace in the last 10. And on a back-to-back, maybe their legs are a little, slow when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And Miami can get some extra buckets there as well. So, yeah, give me the over in this spot. I think this game could actually have a decent amount of points scored, like up in the mid-230s. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. I'm going to probably take my time betting this game because I don't want to go and lay down some bread on Phoenix only to find out Durant's, like, not playing, or Beal or Booker, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna wait this out. Now, in terms of a player prop, I don't mind looking at Bam Adebayo over 3.5 assists. In his last 7 games here, averaging 7 potential assists, and I do think being an undersized-ish big/center, games in which he can come in and play against a guy like, and this is also gonna wait, injury report is gonna have a huge impact on this, but if Yusuf Nurkic gets the go, like I do think that's gonna be a time, or a couple times, where Bam Adebayo is like, oh crap, that's a brick wall in front of me, I can't move him, I'll kick it out to someone to make a 3, and it's an easy assist like that. So kind of the game script in my mind right there. But yeah, we'll see if Nurkic plays. He left last game, or he didn't. I think he left last game, even though he was questionable on that one as well, right? So we'll see if he gets the go. But yeah, I'm gonna wait this game out till probably the last second, just to make sure we do the right thing with the injury report. All right, we got Houston taking on the Lakers. This is another one where if you're on the opposite side of me, I don't think I'm really going to try and convince you off of it, but I'll tell you why I like the Lakers. I do think that there's something brewing there. Like, the offense has looked pretty good. They've won 6 of their last 10, only covered in 5, but they've covered in 3 of their last 4. And I do think, yes, they go to as a double OT against Steph and the Warriors, but that was kind of like a momentum builder in my brain. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Lakers here. If this spread was any bigger, like, I'm not even kidding, like maybe even 2.5, I'd be like, I'd probably look at the Rockets at home, because this Rockets team is a lot better at home, but the Rockets have struggled as of late. But as of late is a lot more road games than home games, so I think that is worth kind of considering in this spot. But yeah, I just think that this is going to be a close enough game. Lakers kind of have the built-out super stardom going, right? It's like could be a spot where the Lakers built some momentum in their last few games here and take this. Now, obviously, Anthony Davis, LeBron, both on the injury report with ankle injuries. I don't know why they're rubbing ankles, but hey, they're still on the injury report like they always are. If they don't play, we probably stick away from this. But if they don't play, and we'll talk about the total in a second, but if they don't play, I like this player prop that we have even more. D'Angelo Russell over 2.5 3-pointers made. He's hit it in 8 of his last 9 games here. The game that he didn't hit it, that was against OKC, and he made 2, so he landed on the hook. So 1-3 away from hitting this in 9 straight games. His last 5 games here, he has been, or actually his last 4, I could even say, has been chucking almost 10 attempts per game, 11, 10, 13, and 8. So I think that is actually averaged to over 10 attempts per game in his last 4 games. And he's going up against a team here that Houston, they do not allow that many threes, but the one weakness is they're above the break 3 here. And the Lakers, a really good above the break 3 shooting team. Wouldn't you know it, the guy that takes the most above the break 3s for the Lakers, D'Angelo Russell, and it's not even close. 7.3 above the break 3 attempts in his last 10 games, right? Averaging in his last 10 games. LeBron's second with 4. So he's almost doubling up the team, and he's shooting nearly 48% from that spot. So yeah, D'Angelo Russell over in 3s, I like. But again, last time we tampered with this, or, played around with this 3-point make club, it didn't look all that great. It's been a fine player prop stat for us on the year, but am I going down the rabbit hole? Like, already you guys are seeing that we're throwing out a lot of 3-point makes, right? That's tough. But let's try to, again, comment in the comments, 3-pointer. We did it last time, wasn't the best luck, but comment 3-pointer if you made it this far into the video, and yeah, we'll see if that gives us a little bit of luck, because the numbers are there for all of these, but, it didn't work out for us last time. But go ahead and comment 3-pointer if you made it this far into the video. In terms of the total, I think I like the under. Not that, I just said the Lakers are building momentum and stuff. Not to say that it's all offensive, because it really isn't. But I do think that, if they're like, oh, let's play some good basketball, and Houston's at home, there could be a tone set pretty early that this is a slow-paced game in a sense. They played in early December in LA, but the Lakers won that game 107-94. They also played in November, and that game was 105-104. 2 low-scoring games in a row. My one concern, and it shouldn't even really be a concern because it was still an under, but when they played in Houston earlier in the year, and that was early November, Houston won 128-94, so still an under. 3 straight unders for these guys, right? But is there a concern that, that's when Houston was at home and they crushed the Lakers? We'll see. But again, leaning towards the Lakers, leaning towards the under, and I don't mind D-Lows over in 3s. All right, Memphis taking on Sacramento. I like Sacramento in this spot. It's not my favorite game, obviously, on the slate. Memphis has been pretty damn hard to judge. They end up covering against the Pacers the other night, and they've covered in 4 straight games, but that's because they're getting big numbers, right? 6.5, 11.5. 8-7. It's like, okay. But now they're going up against Sacramento. Sacramento played them earlier in the year. About a month ago, they won 123-92. And this is just a Sacramento team that's playing better basketball. They beat Atlanta, Golden State, and Dallas, and covered in all 3 of those games. So, yeah, I'll lean towards them. Total sitting at 225 kind of threw me off why it's so low. I lean pretty strongly towards the over in this spot. But yeah, it's kind of weird that it is just such a low number. I get it. This Memphis team has been playing with a super slow pace, bottom 10 in terms of their last 10 games from a pace perspective. But Sacramento, just outside of the top 10, they're ranked 11th in their last 10. So it's almost like, okay, well, maybe they control the pace, right? Like I wouldn't put it past them. So it's a little weird that number is where it is. So I'll lean towards the over, but do we sniff a trap? Like I think this game would be like a 235 total, to be completely honest. But maybe that's just me looking at Sacramento's games. Listen to their last 10, right? 234, 240, 230, 242, 247, 245, 244, 237, 244, and 246 in terms of the totals that were set. Interesting to me that now they have a 225 total. I like the over pretty strongly, but maybe we don't pull the trigger because Vegas usually knows better than the average Joe. But in terms of player props, nothing really jumped off the page here, especially with that total being low. Is this going to be a slow scoring game? I don't know. It confuses me, but I'm sticking away from player props in this spot. All right, we have OKC taking on Minnesota right now. OKC 2.5-point favorites at home. In terms of injury reports, nothing really to look at here, which is good news because I think this is going to be a very good game. How these two teams have battled it out this year have been pretty, I guess, entertaining. Only one blowout between the two of them, but first meeting was back in late November. Minnesota wins 106-103. Second meeting, December 26th, that's the blowout. OKC wins 129-106. But then they played about a week and a half ago, and OKC barely wins that one, but they win 102-97. So close games between these two. I like OKC at home here, coming off of a loss to Detroit yesterday. It was earlier in the game, so they should have plenty of rest and everything like that. Like they should be fired up. Minnesota coming off of a loss to San Antonio, so you could make the exact same argument on the opposite side to me. Like both these teams lost to terrible teams, and now they're fired up and pissed off, right? But I just like the home team in the spot, OKC, and the fact that they've won the 2 out of the 3 meetings so far. Yes, it would make sense if Minnesota evens up and notches it, but nonetheless, give me OKC in this spot. In terms of a total, went back and forth because I think that's a super sharp line. Like I have this pegged at almost 223. So it's like, all right, I guess I lean slightly towards the under, but I don't think I end up pulling the trigger on that, to be completely honest. Player prop that I don't mind, we leaned it last time they played. We've leaned this actually, I don't think we've actually made it a final play yet, but we've leaned it every time that Holmgren's played the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he's hit it in 2 of his 3. Over 1.5 3-pointers made for him for plus 112 odds. I really do like that. It's over on FanDuel right now. He's hit this in 2 of his 3 games against Minnesota this season. Last game was the only one that he did not hit it on, and his 3-point attempts weren't there. He only attempted 2 threes, right? So if the attempts are there, which is kind of what I thought would happen again because of the interior defense of the, obviously, of Minnesota in terms of field goal percentage. They're a decent team in terms of the restricted area and in the paint, right? So I would have thought that, Chet would hit that again. He didn't last game, but last game is the minority in this situation. He already hit it in 2 games this season against Minnesota, so we're going to lean towards it again, and now it's for plus money at plus 112. Decent player prop, I believe, spot in today's game. Spurs taking on the Wizards. I really don't have much in this game, guys. If you have such a strong feel in this game, then again, I call you a psycho, but I love you even more for it because it takes some balls to have a strong opinion on a Spurs and Washington game. But in terms of injuries, Zach Collins is questionable. Pretty much the only major injury there. It is interesting to keep an eye on whether or not that Wembanyama minutes restriction is still intact or whatnot. But yeah, nothing really in this spot for me. Sure, I'll lean towards the home team, and then in terms of a total, I guess if you put a gun to my head, I'd lean towards the over because of how bad these teams are defensively. But come on, I mean, it's Spurs and Washington. Don't love that matchup altogether. So we'll probably just skip through this one, but let me know in the comments if you guys truly have any sort of edges in this spot because I'd be interested to see that. All right, next up, we have Dallas taking on the Orlando Magic. Dallas laying 5 points here. I actually believe I've seen 4.5 on most sportsbooks, so even since recording, getting the graphic, that has moved just a little bit here. I'll take Dallas. no Kyrie Irving, but they still have Luka, they still have Cast and Cruz, so I don't mind it. But probably my favorite spot in this game is actually, and it sounds crazy to say, but looking at Luka's under points, rebounds, and assists. The fact that we can get it right now for under 58.5 at -105 when most sportsbooks have it at -125 is a little bit of value there as well. And yeah, I mean, if there's any guy that could probably go off and do something like this, then sure, it could be Luka. But in games this year against them, he had, I think it was like 36 minutes played, and he only had 38 PRAs. He's hit it in 3 straight games against Orlando dating back to last year. He's hit the under in 74% of games, and he had 90 PRAs when he dropped 73 the other night. It's like, maybe he just slows down a little. You know what I mean? It's still such a high and juiced number, and I think that Dallas wins this game decently, like I said. So like I'd slightly lean towards them even without Kyrie, but my favorite spot's gonna be Luka, because if I think Dallas wins this game, then maybe he can get a little extra rest and doesn't have to, like, who knows. But I just think that it's an inflated line overall. Now, taking the under on a superstar like Luka that does everything is scary as all hell. I get it. Maybe even looking at his under in points at 37.5 is probably the better move, because that's 38 points. Like, to have 38 points and be like, oh, I just covered my line is absolutely crazy. But he's actually hit the over in a decent amount of games without Kyrie this year. And again, it's tough to take the under, but it's what I'm leaning right now. In terms of a total, 228.5, it seems like it's a low number for a Dallas game, so I'll lean towards the over, but I'm not really in love with that. All right, Denver taking on Milwaukee. This is obviously going to be a good game as well, or should be a good game. I feel like the Bucks have kind of been like a box of chocolates. But as of late, you know, maybe they look a little bit better. They've won 7 of their last 3 games, but 2 of those games are against Detroit. They played Cleveland 3 times in the last 10 as well, dropped 2 to them. Denver, on the other hand, looking decent as well, beating Philly the other night. Now, we thought we were going to get a Joel Embiid and Jokic matchup. Embiid hasn't played in Denver in like 4 games or something. It's kind of interesting. But nonetheless, Denver does get the win. Jokic has a good game, and I'm going to lean towards Denver in this spot as well, because they're at home, because this Bucks team just has not been a consistent against the spread team anyways. They're 8-12 on the road against the spread. This season, they're only 18-27-1 against the spread, so they're just not good against the spread here. Whereas Denver at home, I trust them. 18-4 straight up, 11-11 against the spread. That's not the best, but they are playing a team in which I think that they'll be really, really careful and cautious about how they play, and they're not going to do anything stupid. In terms of player prop, actually, we could talk about the total first. I like the under in this one. Similar to what I've been saying about Denver, right? They've cashed, I think it's like 5 straight unders. They've cashed 7 unders in their last 10. When Denver's playing good basketball, they play really efficient. They'll give you 115, maybe 120 points, but they're not playing fast. They're just making a lot of shots that they take. And Milwaukee obviously is a team that's going to kind of run and gun, but I like Denver to win this game. I think Denver at home is going to control the pace. So I'll take the under in this spot. I like that spot a decent amount. An under that I don't like is Damian Lillard's points. I like Damian Lillard to score a decent amount of points today. Over 24.5 right now from -120 over on BetMGM. It's -130, -140 on other books, so there's some value there. And Damian Lillard, yeah, we obviously know he can shoot and fire it, but there's one, I don't even want to call it a weakness at all, but there's one sort of soft spot in the Denver defense, and it truly is in the restricted area and at the rim. Weirdly enough, Damian Lillard shoots plenty in the restricted area and at the rim. He's not just the jump shooter, and I think everyone's going to love Giannis's spot, which, again, kind of what I just said, would maybe say, okay, well then Giannis's points should look good too, right? But Giannis, to get 32 points is a decent amount, and he's hit in his last 2 games against Denver, 33 and 31. So it's like they pegged that perfectly in the middle. I think there's a little bit more value on Lillard today. All right, we got Portland taking on the 76ers. It looks like this could be like a scheduled rest day for the Sixers by the injury report. Like we said, Embiid missed last game with knee soreness. And actually, maybe some of you guys can help me in the comments if you look this up. Joel Embiid, like they put a new sort of games you have to play. You can only miss a certain amount of games to be eligible for awards. How many games does Joel Embiid have left? I feel like he only has like 7 games left that he can miss for the entire year before he's out on awards. So if you guys could help me out, that would be very helpful, because I feel like I heard that or saw that somewhere. But anyways, back to this game. Harris, Maxey, and Embiid are all questionable in this spot. So it makes it a little weird. Like, there's no player props out that I've found for this game just yet. We don't know if those guys are going to play, so I don't think that anything really is inspiring me in this game. But I don't love the idea of the Blazers anyway, especially the Blazers on a back-to-back. So I guess I'll lean Sixers as well as taking a peek at the under, just because I think it could be a sloppy game. But again, you're going to want to see some player props and where we come out with player props before doing anything on this game. So not to end the video on a little bit of a dud game here, but everyone and their grandma's ex-boyfriend are out or are listed as questionable right now. So we'll see how that plays out. But guys, it's going to wrap for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and that like button. We get comments all the time, and it's like I love them and hate them at the same time, because people be like, I've been watching you for 3 months and just realized I wasn't subscribed. Go ahead and check. We're cruising right now. We're not stopping. We're grinding for you guys. In fact, the more subscribers we get, to be honest, the more inspired I am to jump out of bed and make a video. It's weird. Like, you'd think with 2 subscribers, you'd have the grind, which we obviously did. We were making these videos 3.5 years ago to 10 people, right? Like we went through that, but the more and more we grow, the more and more I want to provide the best content I can. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Long way of saying that, not to get on an Ev rant here, but we'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.